All right, guys. So quite an interesting guy entering into the transfer portal. It's Cutter Boley. And, this is a guy that played at Kentucky last year and had some success. And he's a hometown kid. He's a 4-star quarterback from Kentucky, from the state of Kentucky. I'm going to pull up his statistics, but really Will Stein wanted to move past Cutter Boley. And this is a big balls move from Will Stein. This is a local kid from, I'm reading, Hodgenville, Kentucky, small town in Kentucky. And Cutter Boley, guess what? So Cutter Boley, quarterback, this is incredible. I'm going to find out where Cutter Boley can maybe end up. This is a young quarterback that played really decently down the stretch. He's a big quarterback. He has a big arm, but he's not the most mobile guy. And if you look at his statistics, 2,160 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. And he was a true freshman playing football. He beat Auburn on the road. When they played Florida, he was very efficient throwing the football. Now, running the ball, he only has 85 yards on the season. So that's where Will Stein's going to maybe bring in an Austin Novosad from Oregon. But it's interesting. Maybe Cutter Boley doesn't want that competition. Maybe Will Stein wants to bring in a more mobile quarterback, and maybe Cutter Boley on the open market, somebody's probably gotten in his ear and said, I'm really enamored with your game, Cutter Boley. Come cut it loose at somewhere else, in the SEC. So you kind of look, he's kind of in the mold of a Drake Lindsay, and some teams don't want a powerhouse 6'5" pocket passing quarterback. But it's going to be interesting. I think that he really played well at times this year. And I think he's certainly going to have a market. I think that maybe he wants to continue to start at quarterback, but if you're Will Stein, you could have just brought in one quarterback. You could have brought in Ashton Daniels, and then Cutter Boley could have been your future. But Will Stein, who evaluates quarterbacks pretty well, is basically saying, I might want to pick out my young quarterback. If we're not going to pay Cutter Boley, maybe Kentucky goes after a Deuce Knight, who is a young freshman quarterback. Maybe Kentucky just wants to totally Will Stein wants to totally make it his own. And yeah, this is going to upset the fan base for sure, but this is the Will Stein offense. And he's always had pretty mobile quarterback, whether it be Bo, whether it be Dante Moore. So I do kind of understand it. It's not his style. I'm sure Cutter Boley's a great kid. And again, he's going to go somewhere. And I think he could be very, very successful. So this might be a mutual decision. We're going to find out more about this specifically. But again, as midnight's going to hit tonight, things are going to get really, really real. And I don't know, this could be a flurry. That Sunday morning with Lane Kiffin, we woke up at 10 a.m. on that Sunday morning in late November. It might have been early December. And bam, Alex Golish not going to Arkansas. He's going to Auburn. And then it was bam, Arkansas is hiring Ryan Silverfield. And then it's bam, it's official. John Sumrall going to Florida tomorrow. A lot of these guys, Texas Tech, is going to go out and maybe sign their quarterback tomorrow for the future. A lot of teams that were eliminated in this process are going to sign, these quarterbacks. And now you got a couple of guys that have played a little bit of ball, whether it be Ethan Grunkmeyer, but honestly, Becht, the quarterback who's going to Penn State, is a lot more. He's a lot more proven than Austin Novosad. So you had a young quarterback on the roster. You don't get to retain that young quarterback. I'm surprised because you could pay and retain the quarterback. You could try to get on a bridge quarterback, and then you could see if Cutter 1 year into your system, if he can do it. But I guess going back to Frank Harris at UTSA, I mean, you have to go back to Texas San Antonio. Frank Harris, who played about 8 years, great player at UTSA with Jeff Traylor. He's always had mobile quarterbacks. Will Stein. And I believe that Boley, I believe the market is pretty decent for Cutter Boley, and that could have also added to this. So pretty fascinating. That one's kind of a surprise, because you thought Cutter could stay at Kentucky and Will Stein could have his guy, and then Novosad could come in to compete. But now Kentucky's probably going to get 2 quarterbacks out of the transfer portal, or they might even be big game hunting at quarterback.